But right now, I've got Ozzie Jurek on the line. It's a tale of hot and cold, and I want to start with the hot. People always at this time of year, Ozzie, asking about your forecast. You'll share some of that with us at the World Outlook Conference coming up in just 2 weeks' time. But let's start with the hot market of Victoria.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Rick Hogendorn, who's a long-term member and a ace realtor in Victoria and also developer, and he said to me, if Victoria, the real estate market would be described as a fruit, the answer would be it's bananas.
Well, I think, isn't one of the reasons for that, Ozzie, that it seems to me, and I talk with Rick on occasion too, there's just no product out there. It seems incredible how few houses there are for sale.
Yeah, and I think you and I discussed that also in August, that after, when people still, the foreign buyer still likes the Vancouver or the BC market, they'll say, okay, what else? They say that doesn't have tax. And we said Victoria would benefit, the Whistler market would benefit, and the commercial market would benefit. But he cited an example of not a Chinese buyer, but an American buyer who was bidding, or he was winning the bid on a 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom home in Gordon Head. It was listed at $699,000. There were 28 offers, and it sold for $950,000 to an American, not a Chinese buyer. So, and he said he had a listing in Mount Doug right now, and near Gordon Head in Uvic, and an open house had more than 80 groups through the house. And yeah, there's a shortage of inventory and very strong demand.
Well, let's come with this then. I mean, you just talked about the foreign buyers tax, and absolutely right. When governments change things, people behavior change. Toronto looks like they were a big beneficiary. You look down Seattle and down the coast, and as you say, Victoria.
Yeah.
But now you got some people in Victoria talking about let's have that 15% provincial property purchase tax on foreign buyers too.
Yeah, not just some people. Two of the councillors want the 15% tax as far as possible in the capital region. And they also say that their local municipality should be given the authority to impose a tax on vacant properties, just like we had in Vancouver. So the market is extremely hot in Victoria, and yet when we look through the rest of the market, the numbers still show a relatively calm start. But we hear sort of some spots. Our realtor Tammy Sharp in Vancouver, she had an offer on a $360,000 condo near Arbutus 12th. It sold for $413,000. It's substantially higher, over 10% higher, and there was 5 offers on that. So, there are, and again, she says anything under $400,000 is hot. So we have sort of a mixed bag. Now, I was at the UDI conference where the big wigs, the big wheels, the big condo developers were talking, and they saw a 10% price increase in product and concrete high-rise product, but over 2 million, they didn't see much movement in the market. It would take some time to come back. But generally bullish, but everybody is cautious. And the thing is, there is not one market. There's a condo market and there's a single-family home market. And then there are the specific areas. So get a quality realtor, do a lot of research, and don't get caught up in a bidding war.
It's interesting. There's a lot of variables, obviously, and there's a tendency to oversimplify. Especially I've been very critical of sort of looking at correlation, but calling it causation. And real estate would be a great example. But we still got this low interest rate environment in Canada. It looks like we're going to keep this for at least for the rest of the year. That seems to be a dominant thing. But it's interesting. Royal LePage pointed to U.S. buyers, too, in a recent report.
Yeah, now, they say that web traffic increased. They didn't say that their agent said they had a lot more American buyers. The web traffic improved dramatically, but that dramatic 300% number was the day after Trump won. Then in November it was 73%, and year over year it was 40% higher. So more Americans looked at their website. So they have I think we have a lot more American buyers in Toronto, Victoria, Whistler, not those areas. But first of all, Whistler crashed in prices dramatically and then was recovering. And then the dollar is cheap, not because of Trump, but because of no transfer tax, low Canadian dollars, and it's a heck of a place to buy.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, we've got to look like a heck of a sale in some areas, and I keep hoping that Calgary's going to be a beneficiary of that. And we just talked with Greg Weldon about a pickup, in the oil market. It's not a straight line up, but over time. And Joseph Schachter will be with us at the World Outlook Conference. He's had a terrific track record when it comes to the price of crude oil. But that could be I'm just waiting for some good news for Calgary, but that may be one. I mean, I can't believe that American buyers aren't looking north of the border and saying, hey, thanks for the 35% discount.
The interesting thing, too, is, and you and I discussed that at a show previously, that we had some of the very big owners of condos pick up their shorts in Vancouver and invested in downtown Calgary. So they're seeing certainly an increase in values there. But the thing is, like with all forecasts, this is a very unique time that we're in. There's all these projections on what Trump will mean, and will they close the border, and what if they put a tax on oil, and all of those wonderful things. I think in the end, if you want to buy a house, buy the best you can in an area that you like for your family, and take a look at the last 40 years of all the terrible times that we went through, from Russian crisis and oil crisis and Mexican crisis and flus and whatnots, and yet had you bought a house, you outperformed any other investment.
Hey, Ozzie, we've got time for only about 30 seconds for a quick hot property.
Yeah, we have very interesting pre-sale. These are UBC student condos in Kelowna. The studios start at $179,900, and they cash flow. And they have 1, 2, 3-bedroom units, and might be a good deal.
Interesting stuff. You can find more from Ozzie at Jurek.com. I look forward to seeing him at the World Outlook Conference. I hope I see you there, too.